What is up, YouTube? This is Luna Sparkle, and we're going to be talking about the FNAF4 and why I believe Foxy did it. I've gone through all my research and thinking, and with what I'm going to say, if it makes sense to you guys, as much as we all hate to hear it, why Foxy did it. Now, yes, I know, we all love Foxy because she's just so cute at times. But I've done a lot of research and thinking, and it seems like Foxy is a prime suspect for the FNAF4. Firstly, let's look at the obvious. In Five Nights at Freddy's 2, we all think Mangle did it, right? Which is honestly, yeah, it does make sense. Female Foxy, sharp teeth, and all, yeah. However, look at the patterns of the restaurants. Five Nights at Freddy's 2 came before the first one. The murder happened in the second game, and the Baby Center was mentioned in the first game. However, in the first game, the Baby Center was casually talked about as if it wasn't a big deal.
The characters do tend to wander a bit. They're left in some kind of free roaming mode at night. Something about their servos locking up, they get turned off for too long. They used to be allowed to walk around during the day too, but then there was the bite of 87. Yeah. It's amazing that the human body can live without the frontal lobe, you know?
I don't know about you, but if there was a traumatic event, I'd notify everybody immediately for safety reasons. And unlike the murder, which shut them down, if anybody found out about Foxy biting the person's frontal lobe, that can get them shut down once again, so they're trying to keep it on the low. But when Phone Guy mentioned it, it was very casual. This can mean that the murder happened first, then they had to shut down and rebuild the pizzeria, but couldn't keep the new animatronics and had to sell them to make some money to instead fix up the old animatronics in the back with a smaller pizzeria, with the fact that they were on a tight budget. When you first start your job, Pirate Cove was already shut down, and your job is only a temporary summer job. So that can mean with 4 animatronics, any of the animatronics could have caused it before you came to the pizzeria. But look at their teeth. All but Foxy's didn't have really sharp teeth, but like hippo-like teeth. And let's look at the animal itself. Bonnie is a rabbit and Chica's a chicken. But both do not hunt and are harmless. Bears do hunt, but they rather prefer seeds, berries, roots, grasses, fungi, deer, elk, fish, dead animals, and insects. And if I'm correct, I'm not so sure about this, correct me if I'm wrong, they only really fight when they feel like they're being threatened. With Freddy being the most popular, he wasn't really no kind of threat to anybody. And with the bears hibernating, the Baby 7 could have happened in the winter. Then after a few months, it became known to few people, and it really wasn't in a panic moment. And when you came to the job, it was known, hence why Phone Guy casually talked about it. Foxy, however, is a fox, obviously. According to animals.mom.me, foxes are omnivores and eat small animals, birds, reptiles, frogs, eggs, insects, worms, fish, crabs, mollusks, fruits, berries, vegetables, seeds, fungi, and carrion. In winter, they mainly eat mammals such as rice, rabbits, or other small animals. In autumn, their preference is fruit and berries like blackberries, apples, permissions, what the heck those are, whatever those are, plus acorns, sedges, and tubers. In the summer, they like to eat a lot of insects like crickets, beetles, caterpillars, as well as frogs and mice. In spring, they will fill up on birds' eggs and earthworms. They will even wade into shallow water for fish and crabs. Foxes do a lot of hunting at dawn and dusk, but can hunt anytime. They hunt by stalking their live prey. They have excellent hearing and pouncing technique that allows them to kill the prey quickly. Look at Five Nights at Freddy's 2. Foxy pounces you in the jump scare, and they hunt at any time of the season as well. As with Foxy's mouth, according to Science Alert, it takes 520 pounds of pressure to crush a human skull. That could have easily broken both the human skull and his jaw as well. Now, let's look at the Five Nights at Freddy's 2 minigames. All the minigames have those weird letter spelling things, except for Foxy's. This makes him stand out as well. Let me show you. Another thing that makes Foxy stand out is in Five Nights at Freddy's 3, where he's a phantom animatronic. He's the only one where he does not need the camera to be activated and goes right to your room, and if you stare at him, he jump scares you as well, which makes him also stand out as well, other than Freddy, but you know. And with him running right to you in FNAF4 and 2, it also makes him stand out from the other animatronic because he just goes right to you. Now, let's talk about the position of Mangle's and Foxy's jump scare in FNAF2. If you look at Mangle's jump scare, she's nowhere near your frontal lobe, but she takes out your entire front face. Now look at Foxy's. Assuming he is the shortest animatronic, the way he pounces out at you, depending on how far away you are, he can latch onto your frontal lobe and onto you instead of your entire face and rip it off as well. And the fact that he's the shortest and the fastest, he can jump higher than what you are viewing, probably, making him high enough for him to bite you on your frontal lobe. As for Foxy's jump scare in FNAF2, it is the only one out of the animatronics that is different and says freedom when you slow it down drastically. It's hard to catch, but once you slow it down a lot, you can see it. So that makes him stand out as well. Now with the fact that it was taking place when Foxy was in Pirate Cove, let's take a look at a diagram I made. I'm not the best drawer in the world, yes I know, but it's just a simple overall view of it. If the victim were to be a kid, according to this diagram, he would literally have to bend over, his upper body has to be greater than 90 degrees or something like that. God knows how weird it'll have to be. But if you see what I'm doing here, he literally has to bend over at a greater than a 90 at a greater than a 90 degree and somehow just past it to get at least to the victim. But considering that they're way too short, he would have to do this in order to get his or her frontal lobe. But with the fact that there's a limit on everything, this is probably the farthest that Foxy can go, making it so that he can only hit the top of her head, which doesn't make any sense. However, if it were to be an adult who's bigger, it can easily rip off its frontal lobe, as you see by here, because all it has to do is just bend over at a 90 and all that stuff, and then boom, just right there. Dang it, gotta readjust it. And then you can just then he could just easily bite off his frontal lobe with little effort. So that can show that Foxy, if he were to cause it, it would be an adult whose frontal lobe got bitten off. In this case, you from Five Nights at Freddy's 2. And because of that, not only did Foxy destroy his mouth, but the skull as well, because of that 500 pounds of pressure that he needed to do to crush those bones. Now, let's talk about emotions in humans, considering that the animatronics are pretty much the souls of kids and all that stuff. If you remember correctly, the 5 kids' souls are put inside each of the animatronic suits, and what the phone guy stated,
the animatronic characters here do get a bit quirky at night, but do I blame them? No. If I were forced to sing those same stupid songs for 20 years and I never got a bath, I'd probably be a bit irritable at night too.
And then there is a statement from Phone Guy as well in Night 4 and Five Nights at Freddy's 2.
Just as a side note though, try to avoid eye contact with any of the animatronics tonight if you can. Someone may have tampered with their facial recognition systems, we're not sure. But the characters have been acting very unusual, almost aggressive toward the staff. They interact with the kids just fine, but when they encounter an adult, they just stare. Anyway, hang tight.
So that can mean that Foxy bit an adult instead of a kid because they interact with kids just fine, but adults they just stare at. And when Foxy bit that adult, he was shut down and his code was closed. Now all 3 of your friends are out there interacting with the crowd while you're trapped in a prison of small nothingness. I don't know about you, but I'd go mentally insane as well. And considering that he murdered an adult, he felt very guilty for his accident and not controlling himself. And after being in that prison, all he could think about was that murder, and he went mad with murder. But at the same time, he had that conflict in mind of it felt so good to murder, but it's not right, but it feels so good, and all that stuff causing him to go mentally insane. So in 1 and 2, he's the only animatronic that goes right to you, crazy to kill you, much like how the marionette feels on how Purple Man killed her child because of that crazy desire for murder, but at the same time trying to stop himself because he knows it's wrong, hence why he stops at the door. He's trying to stop himself as best as he can from going insane and killing you, which the child of Foxy does not want to do, but the feelings is making him want to. And if you watch like criminal shows like CSI and all that good stuff, and all that, sorry, stupid alarm, and all that good stuff, when you murdered someone, you hide the evidence and you try to look like the good guy when you cause the murder as well. So Foxy could be guilty of that, and he's trying to hide up the fact that he just killed somebody. Then there was the most recent update on Scott's website with Nightmare Foxy. The gap between Freddy and Bonnie was 10 days, the gap between Bonnie and Chica was 9 days. But with that being said, we'd expect the gap difference for Chica to Foxy to be 8 days to be 1987, considering that this game is focusing on that. But it didn't. Instead, Foxy was released 13 days after Chica on a Friday, and according to the Five Nights at Freddy's wiki, if that attack happened after night 6 in the second game, Mighty Baby 7 would have taken place on either the 13th or 14th of November of 1987. Interestingly enough, the 13th of November in the year 1987 was a Friday, making that particular day, Friday the 13th, a day to be considered unlucky. Also, when you brighten out Nightmare Foxy's image, the text either says out of order or murder. But out of order is 10 letters, while Nightmare is 9 letters. But murder is 6 letters. Out of order, when you look at Nightmare Freddy's pic, would take up the whole picture length. But with 6 letters, that could be the perfect size to put in the dead center of the image, right inside Foxy's mouth. But with 6 letters, So with that being said, Scott could be signaling Foxy that Foxy did it. Finally, on a stupid, foolish, funny note, let's look at Scott himself. Being the evil genius that we all know and love for him to be, he knows that we love Foxy and he probably just wants to make us so angry and upset, just to troll us like he did with that Final Fantasy 3 there is no pause button game joke he did. That part of my theory is just the funny part of it, that has nothing to do with it, just being a weirdo. Anyhow, with all that being said, there is most likely the chance that Foxy is the murderer who caused the bite of 87. But he was going crazy because he didn't like the fact that he just murdered somebody. Guilty pleasure, if you think about it. He feels entirely guilty about it, but because it's the only thing he could think of, it turns into guilty pleasure. As much as we all love Foxy, the evidence that I found easily shows that Foxy is a major suspect in the bite of 87 and could be the one who caused it. So tell me what you guys think. With that being said, do you think Foxy could have caused it? What are your theories? Do you agree with me, or add on, or did I miss anything with my theory? Tell me what you guys think in the comments. Peace!